What's up guys, it's Missy. I'm back with another SimCity build video. Today we're going to be talking about the recent change to the contest of mayors. This week I had people send in their screenshots of the first 10 to 15 choices, and I'm going to go through the results of that. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, last week we had picked up on a pattern that was new, where people were rotating their first assignment and getting a last resort rotatable repair for the value of $1,200, and then immediately following that they were getting the keys for $1,200. So I had a bunch of people come to me, or tried to have a bunch of people come to me and submit their screenshots where they rotate as normal, and then some of them rotated differently to see if it would still happen. And we're going to go through what that the result of that is. So this person is a low-level player on the Missy's building guide. As you can see here, they already have the repair in their list, so it's not going to be coming in at the start. So if it is consistent with the pattern that we think it is, then what should happen is they rotate their first main assignment, they get the repair $1,200. They rotate their second main assignment, they get the keys $1,200, okay? So the repair's already here. So they rotate their first assignment, they get minerals. That's where the repair would have been. Now they rotate their second main assignment and they get the keys for $1,200 because it's a double points week. Not keys for $1,600, not keys for $2K, but keys for $1,200. Okay, that's just one person. Mind you guys, I have not looked through all of these. I haven't. I've only looked through some of them. So we're going to see what happened with this person. Okay, so he should have rotated the upgrade war card first. Wait, let me see. Doesn't have repair. No, he does have repair. Okay. So he does have the repair. So it'll be the keys on the second main rotation if it follows the pattern that we're looking for. So let's see. Does that one. Gets glass. Does his next main, gets keys. Awesome. Okay. Okay, so from here, again, I have not looked at her screenshots to know if this happens or not. She already has the keys down at the bottom for $1,200. So the only thing that should come in right off the gate is the repair if it follows the same pattern. She is a low-level player. She rotates in the ward disaster upgrade and gets a repair for $1,200. Okay, this person sent in their stuff. I have not looked at this person's list at all. Okay, so let's see what they have. They have no repair, no keys. So if it follows the same pattern as the others, and if he rotates right, he should rotate the war disaster and get the repair for $1,200. What did you rotate? I don't understand what he rotated. Why did you rotate the paint first? Are you doing the opposite rotation for me? I think, okay, he must be doing the opposite rotation. So the experiment for opposite rotation was to see if it still occurs if you do it backwards. To pick something from the bottom of the list first, or if it's just set to those two main doorways. So he obviously did the reverse one. So from paint, he gets keys for something, so I can see it at the bottom there. These screenshots are just awful, dude. Seriously, dude? I don't care about your milestones. What are you doing? I'm not even going to use that person's stuff. I told you guys. Okay, so let's check this person's. This person's in my group, so they better know how to put up some damn screenshots, or I'm going to have a coronary. So from here, they did the increased storage, which was a mistake, okay? Unless they can do the increased storage a second time, this was a mistake, and I very much doubt that they can do it a second time. Reason being is that this assignment comes in so frequently that it is going to mess with the rotation, and it could cover up a good doorway. But nevertheless, he rotated his first main task, so let's see what happens. So he gets the repair for $1,200, like we're assuming is going to happen. Now he's doing his second main task. He should get the, well, what's at the bottom of his list? You don't know how to take a screenshot either? Okay, he doesn't have keys. So one person didn't get the keys immediately. Let's see what he gets on the third. Okay. So far we've got quite a few of the people that followed this pattern. Now, one high-level player actually did a reverse one for me, and that was on Facebook Messenger, so let me pull up those screenshots real quick. Okay, that's right. They're not high-level. They have a high-level feeder. They did this on their level 24 city. Okay, so from here, he was doing the reverse one, so not rotating out the main. He has, let's see, no repair and no keys in the list that I see. So he started with, oops, sorry guys, there was a conversation being had in the middle of this. Okay, so he started with the rare disaster, his lowest premium in his list, like instructed, and he gets Paris for 1,600. So far, it's broken the cycle, okay? So from here, he goes with, Jesus. Okay, the smoothies for 1,600, and he gets repair. Okay, so now we shifted to the main doorways to see if it was actually going to break the cycle or if the assignments are connected to the main doorways first. So he does the 6K London, and he gets the repair for 1,200. You see where I'm going with this, you guys? Okay, so now from here, he does the next highest one he can do, but technically, this isn't really one of his main doorways because he really couldn't do the main ones that he had. You know, he had the Paris and he had the 6,000 storage. Now, because this person was playing competitively and they had already made 2 mistakes in, if they were playing CoM the correct way, those 2 things that they did at the beginning were mistakes. I didn't want them to cancel and screw up their whole week, you know? But technically, in order to follow the right theory, we would have wanted to cancel that 6K upgrade because that would have been his second main doorway. Because, you know, storage is pretty much always there. Storage could have been considered a main doorway as well. But either way, he does the next main one that he can do to see what happens. And he gets the 2K Tokyo. So it's consistent with it not, you know, being that way. If he would have canceled the 6K upgrade and got the keys, that would be consistent with the theory that we're trying to prove here. So the theory is that it's not the very first task that you rotate. Okay? That is what I wanted to make sure of. Because here's the thing. When I notice a pattern, I look at something and I say, okay, how can we combat this issue? Because, and somebody had made a comment on one of my videos, and I had told them that I would respond back to them. I have been so busy. I apologize. They had, you know, commented on some stuff, and clearly they had taken what I said in the video and misunderstood what I had said because everything that they had said in their comment was completely off. And that was the only response that I had given them at the time, was exactly what I just said to you. And then I would respond to them in the morning, and then I totally forgot up until like right now. So basically, here's how it goes, okay? This person was making the point that they think that what's going on is that because the LR tasks have a high algorithm, that by doing an assignment and having that assignment come in, that isn't consistent with a good doorway being blocked, but with the fact that the good doorway just wasn't that doorway. That is incorrect, in my opinion, okay? And I'll tell you why. Look at what I just showed you. That's exactly why, okay? We rotated all kinds of stuff, and look at the patterns that we're seeing. Now, keep in mind, we're not getting these assignments for, let's say, 1,600 or even 2,000. We're conveniently getting them at the LR value, the value that I set up to be a no-touch task. So let's say that you were EA, okay? And you see my videos come out, and people are dominating the leaderboards, and they're doing really well, and they're winning, and you want to change things up. That would be a really good way to do it. To take a task and say, okay, what we know is that the first 3 doorways, and it's not always going to be your good doors. If that was the case, I would just say your first 3 doorways are always your good doorways. I've never told people that. But they are normally the doorways that lead to becoming your good doorways, okay? Normally, those 3 are the 3 that become your good doorways when you're a high-level player, because your rotation is perfect as a high-level player. Whereas a low-level player, you have to make adjustments because you can't do upgrades. So trying to follow the normal pattern of rotation with a low-level player is very difficult. It's something that if you play high-level CoM and you play it with my technique, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've seen it time and time again, and you know that the top 3 doorways are usually the ones that become your good doors. So if they wanted to combat this issue, I'm not suggesting that they increase the algorithm, because that doesn't make any sense, right? It's already super high. What I'm suggesting is that right off the gate, when you rotate your first main task, it's kicking in that 1200 repair. And then on the second main task, it's kicking in that 1200 keys, assuming they're not already in your list. Now, those were all the people that sent me their stuff this week. A couple people forgot, a couple people screwed up, or whatever. Out of every single one of those, they were all consistent with what we were trying to prove, except for one person whose screenshots were completely screwed up. And I'm not even sure what they were trying to do entirely, if they were trying to do the reverse one or not. I don't think they were, just based on how their screenshots were. So I'm not even going to count theirs as anything, because I have no clue what they were trying to achieve. That being said, we never even saw them rotate their main tasks out, because the top of their screenshots were of their milestone tasks. So when all the other people that we saw has consistency with that, that's leaning more towards they changed something. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I've seen a lot of damn screenshots in my time, okay? And I have never seen that happen like that so many damn times in a row. I can go back through weeks of people's screenshots and see the same thing happening, but if I go back about a month and a half ago, this shit never happens. Not like this. I mean, I'm not saying it's never happened in time. I'm just saying it was never like this, okay? So something's definitely up. That being said, I'm going to continue to watch it. But for now, for those of you guys who are dealing with this issue, the only way to fix this is to flip the door, okay? So what that means is this. You're going to rotate the way you always do. And I want you to keep screenshots, even if you're somebody who's never spoken to me before. Take your screenshots, like you should be doing anyways, and if you can find the time, send them to me, even if they're not consistent with the theory. I still want to see it. You know, I don't want to just see evidence that's consistent. I want to see all evidence so I know what's going on, right? Send me your screenshots in order, and until then, until I can figure out some way to fix this issue for you guys, the only way that I've come up with so far is going to be to rotate normally, like you always do, and then if you end up in a position where your average is dropping, and you feel that the repair door and the keys door is blocking a good doorway, then what you're going to do is you're going to do a doorway flip. That is where you rotate the repair or the keys, and you flip it to a doorway with good opportunity. You cannot flip it to a door with another high algorithm. Otherwise, that door will just cover the one you uncovered, okay? For example, right here, let's say we had to do a doorway flip. We have the Tokyo delivery, we have the repair. So what we would do is we would do the repair, and no matter what the repair brought in, even if it's a nice 3K task that you can do, ignore it, okay? Then rotate the Tokyo delivery because it has good opportunity, and wait until you get the repair back, or for 3 rotations. If you don't get something in 3 different doorway rotations, go back to the repair door, your 3K task that you just got, or whatever it was, continue on with that door, and see what its doorway average is. If the doorway average is good, and you know you've located your good doorway and you get repair again, attempt another flip, okay? If you can get the flip already, like right off the gate, like most of the time you can do, then just keep working that doorway, or flip the keys doorway, you can do that as well. But basically all you're doing is you're taking the repair door, the repair assignment, and you're putting it to a different doorway. Okay, now a doorway is just a slot on the list. So you can't put something somewhere where another high algorithm assignment comes in. Like let's say you tried to flip the repair to the storage door. What do you think is going to happen with the storage assignment that's also high algorithm? It's going to come back and it's going to cover whatever doorway you're working, right? So that would defeat the purpose. So whatever doorway it is, it has to have good opportunity to it, okay? Low algorithm, basically. All right, you guys, good luck. Again, if you have any, screenshots or whatever, give me just a second. I'm going to read that person's comment and respond back to it super quick because I told them I would. Okay, so they said, regarding the LR tasks showing up early, I have a similar situation as well, but I don't exactly believe that there was any game-changing alteration being made that resulted in the observation, or in this observation, as one will eventually have them all showed up in the list at some point, given they are high algorithm tasks. If high algorithm LR tasks are raised somehow, that should have been observed by the high-level players. Okay, so first off, I don't know if it was observed by the high-level players. Second off, I don't know what was in their list prior to whatever it is they rotated. That's why I was asking for people's screenshots. Also, just because something has a high algorithm, okay, does not mean that you're going to get that exact assignment at that exact value on that exact first rotation. That is pretty odd odds. You know what I'm saying? Like the fact that we went through this many people's lists and it was always the repair, always for 1200 first, and then it was the keys. Unless they had the repair already in the list, and then in which the first rotation was not the repair, and the second rotation was the keys. If you were doing a data input, think about it from SimCity's point of view. What can they change on their end that could have this happen? Is it just, oh, let's increase the algorithm of this task? Would that be consistent with the value that we're seeing? No. Okay, well, what if we increase the algorithm of this task at this value? Would that be consistent with what we're seeing? No, because we're seeing it in this exact order, on this exact doorway, right? So if we go back and we look, and I'm not 100% sure, but we're going to do that in just a second. I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but we're going to go back and look at those people's lists here in just a second. Because you remember when I told you guys that there's kind of like a weather system that goes through SimCity? Something that makes it fair for all players within the leaderboard. Like if you have a reverse rotation week, most people have a reverse rotation week. The ones on your leaderboard at least. We're going to go back and check something here in just a second. Okay, another thing I have noticed is that a high value task may not necessarily mean that they are the opening tasks of good doorways. That is absolutely true. 100% true. I don't know if your comment is being written in a way where you're trying to inform me of the knowledge that you have, that you've, come up with on your own, or that you've heard me say and that's how you're retaining it, or if your comment is written in a way where you're trying to contradict something that I'm saying in my video. Because it kind of sounds like that's more what you're trying to do. It sounds more like you're trying to say that by me saying that they're covering up your good doorways or your starting doorways, that you're saying, well, just because they have a high value mark on them doesn't make them good. And that is where I said you misunderstood me, okay? Because that is not what I'm suggesting. I am not suggesting simply that because the value is high, that the doorway is good. I have never told people that. I have never said, that's your good door. You know it's your good door because it has one high-valued assignment on it. I have never said that. What I will say is that your starting doorways, your starting main premiums, typically become the good doorways. especially for high-level players, because their rotation is not skewed or in their assignment list is not milkshaked in any way. So I'm not entirely sure what the comments context is supposed to be. Okay, so then you say, though it is true that starting with the main task, it will likely return a main task if one locates a good doorway, since the list balances itself out. But considering keys, coins, and repairs are high algorithm tasks, hence why they are LRs, having them showing up early is indeed consistent with their observed algorithm rate. No, that is where we disagree. Okay, yes, they are high algorithm tasks. And just because they came in on startup would not be enough for me to make a video and say they changed something. Okay? But when we're seeing it consistent with an exact pattern of repair 1200 and keys 1200, that is consistent with something more going on than just simply high algorithm. Do you know how many times you can rotate repair and not immediately get repair back? Not immediately, like the next task, or maybe in 3 or 4 tasks, not until you shift a door. It happens, right? So to suggest that that is consistent because those tasks are LR tasks, then I come to you and I say, okay, well, they're only LR tasks at the value of 1200 for low-level players, right? And 1600 and 1200 for high level. So what about the coins? Why aren't we seeing coins on startup, on the first rotation out of the list? Why isn't it ever coins? It's always, why isn't it keys first? Why isn't it 1600 keys? Why is it always 1200 first, repair, and 1200 keys? Is that consistent with just simple high algorithm assignments? No, that's consistent with something being set in specifically to result in that. And that is what I'm trying to figure out, if that is in fact what's going on here. Because when I see screenshots for a year, 2 years, whatever, and they never do this, and then all of a sudden, I've got people in my CoM training course, and week after week after week, it's the exact same thing happening, where their main tasks are being covered by these assignments at this value. It's like, wait, what's going on here? Because if they would have come in for 1600 or $2,000, then right there we would be like, we can still rotate this out. It wouldn't be blocking anything up. But at the value of 1200, these people are told to leave these assignments alone. So now, because of this unfortunate event, now we have to make another technique to combat it, which would be a doorway flip. Then you go on to say, and if they really comes in a good doorway, keys and repairs will worth 2,000 points. Or okay, so basically what you're trying to say is, if the repair and keys were coming on a good door, then they would come in for a higher value. Not necessarily, right? So not if they did change something. Now, if they hadn't changed anything, then in theory, yeah, that would be ideally what would happen, yes. But we're going under the pretenses that they changed something. So I want to conclude that this is a case of good doorways getting, or wait. So having them showing up early as 1200 value tasks, I won't conclude that this is a case of good doorways getting blocked off immediately, but more likely to be the case that one didn't locate a good one. I disagree with that entirely. Okay, and I just explained why. I'm not going to explain it again. As they are high algorithms, and whether a good door is assigned will also depend on their values of other tasks a player has on their list. Like, if one has a lot of main tasks untouched, chances of them being able to open a good door elsewhere is pretty pale. It is too early to tell just within the first 2 to 3 assignments in. Okay, so knowing if a door is good or bad, it is too early to tell 2 to 3 assignments in. That is a correct statement. You can't possibly know if a doorway is good or bad, but what you do know is that your starting doorway typically leads to your good doorway, right? So when you have this pattern coming in, where you've got this exact assignment at this exact value, at this exact rotation coming in, notice how I don't tell people to flip the door immediately? Notice how I don't say, hey, if you get repair and keys in your list, immediately flip the door. Notice how I didn't do that? Because I don't know if it's a good doorway yet. Notice how I said continue on with your week, see what happens. If you don't have good doorways, if you can't find a good doorway and you believe that those two doorways could be your good doorways, then you'll need to do a doorway flip, which is probably going to happen. Just based on the history that I've had with the people in my training course, it's happened every week to them. They have had to uncover those doorways to get their main doorways back and get their list back in order. It has really hurt their week, like bad. If I hadn't flipped those doorways out, they would have failed and they would have lost. Okay, so half of what you said is true. The other half is kind of off. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the way that you're looking at it is like, okay, this has a high algorithm chance, and we don't know if that's a good doorway. Therefore, because it came in at that value, that must mean that that door is bad. I would not go as far as to say that, given the patterns that we're looking at. Now, the rest of your comment is right here. And you say, also, the storage task is another issue. I have once only been able to do the storage towards the very end of CoM, and it needed to upgrade war cards 3 times legendaries and storage returns consecutively that I have not seen at all during the entire week. So just based on my experience, storage is a bigger problem in blocking things off. You just contradicted yourself. You just contradicted yourself. You just said that you can't judge a doorway based on just what's sitting on it, but more so what you get in return, yes? Okay, so you're suggesting that because this week you rotated the storage and it resulted in a few good assignments, that next week, on a completely different week, completely different list, you're going to assume that the storage is what is actually blocking the good doorways off, based on last week's week. How is that even possible? You don't know the history of that doorway this week. It could be completely different. That is actually why the storage task is so bad. Because you can't, unless you can do it again, it is a big problem. Remember when I told you that your starting assignments are usually your good ones? When people start with, usually people hold on to their storage pieces right when CoM begins, and they save that right at the start. And they usually do that assignment right away, right? And when they do that, they either uncover a good doorway and then it immediately gets blocked off with the storage again, or they don't uncover a good doorway with the storage specifically, but then whatever assignments that they continue to rotate it with get blocked off by the storage assignment that they can't do again. So it's actually advised that you don't touch that assignment until near end of the contest of mayors, or if you have to do a doorway flip, which is what we would say for repair or any other assignment sitting on a good door. It doesn't matter if it's an upgrade that you can't do or, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. The point is, if you've tried multiple other doorways and you've had no luck in finding a good one, then you would need to either cancel an upgrade of high value to uncover a good door, or you have to rotate something out. Now, with cancellations, you just hope that the upgrades don't come back, right? Because they don't have high algorithm, you're not going to sit there and try to get them on a different door. But with items such as repair and keys, coins, things like that, storage, those ones you have to replace in the list elsewhere because they're always going to be there, right? Now, the difference in why, notice how we never have to doorway flip the monster or the keys, the monster or the coins. Why is that? It almost never has to be done. In fact, it's pretty much never done. Maybe the coins in like a situation with a low level player where they've got like tons of upgrades in their list when we had the streaks assignments or something, maybe. But it's very rare that you would ever try to flip the coins anywhere. Why is that? Because it's at the bottom of the list, right? So typically, the good doorways become the top good doorways. You rotate out the bottom of the list to open up all good possibilities, to change the weathering system of your week, and then you go back to your main doors, your starting doors, and with those opportunities now open and in place, you have these good doorways coming in. So the best way to show this in action is with a high level player. High level player does top starting doorway, 3K, 2K, 3K. Those are their starting doors. Then at the bottom of their list, they have premiums, VU 1000, Omega 1000, Regional 1000. They rotate VU 1000. They either get a good assignment in return, a main assignment, or they get a rotatable. They get a rotatable, and it's not, a premium of any kind. They go down to the bottom of their list again. They rotate one of their good premiums with high algorithm again, and then another and another until all premiums are gone. If no more main tasks come in, then they go to their highest non-premium with lowest algorithm rate. Once they locate their good door, all those opportunities that they just uncovered are going to start rolling in on that doorway. If the week, works the way it's supposed to. It doesn't go into reverse rotation. But with low-level players, because they can't do upgrades, those 1K premiums at the bottom become more of a risk. So they end up having to rotate from the middle of the list, which screws with rotation a little bit, and they have to screw with their rotation, otherwise they're going to get upgrades, right? So when you have these LR tasks coming in at the beginning of the week, in that exact sequence, on that exact door, in that exact value, to multiple people, that is more than just, it's a high algorithm and a bad doorway. I believe it is, anyway. Okay, so then you go on to say, but I also have other instances that I've completed storage as my first task, and at 1,200 key returns. So it's another example that a high-value task may not necessarily be the start of a good door. Hope it's helpful. Okay, well, the last part of your statement just proved what I said. You just said, I've had instances where I rotate the storage at first, and I get 1,200 keys. That's what I'm saying. So you're saying when you rotated the storage later in the game, that it was consistent with being good to you, and when you rotated it early, it was consistent with what I'm suggesting. And that is exactly what I've been telling people to do, to rotate the storage later in the game, and to pay attention to the starting doorways, because they're probably going to kick back those two tasks. Exactly what I said. Good luck. If you have any screenshots or whatever that you would like to send to me, I am more than happy to receive them. You can hit me up on my Missy Ann Facebook. I would have responded to you sooner. It's just, I've been busy and I honestly totally forgot.